This is the kind of junk science that we're continuously seeing. And yet, when you have somebody who is actually getting some results, they come after him. They come after him and destroy his reputation, even attack him posthumously. This is a story of Dr. Jeff Bradstreet. This is a story that Adon Salazar picked up on Friday, and it was about a week after the doctor was found. They found his body floating in the river in North Carolina. And the title of the article is Mysterious Death, Body of Doctor Who Linked Vaccines to Autism was Found Floating in a River. Say a prominent autism researcher and vaccine opponent was found dead floating in a North Carolina river last week under what many are calling suspicious circumstances. They say that he had a gunshot wound to the chest, which appeared to be self-inflicted, according to deputies, and they removed a handgun from the river. Now, I ask you, is that the way that people typically commit suicide with handguns, shooting themselves in the chest? It doesn't seem likely to me. But here's the background of Dr. Bradstreet. Here's what you need to know about him. He ran a private practice in Beaufort, Georgia, which focused on treating children with autism spectrum disorder, PPD, and related neurological and developmental disorders. Among various remedies, Dr. Bradstreet's Wellness Center reportedly carried out mercury toxicity treatments, believing that the heavy metal, mercury, was a leading factor in the development of childhood autism. And of course, mercury was a part of the vaccines, a big part of the vaccines in terms of thimerosal, which was a preservative. They have removed that from some of the vaccines now, but they would put that in the vaccines as preservatives. I remember taking thimerosal for a contact lens cleaning solution, and every time I would use that contact lens cleaning solution, it would turn my eyes bright blood red immediately. And I complained to the optometrist, and he said, well, you're probably allergic to thimerosal, so we'll have to give you something else that's different. Years later, when I had another doctor talking to me about why I didn't use contact lenses anymore, he said, oh, thimerosal, that's been banned. That's got mercury in it. It's like, oh, really? That's the same stuff they put as a preservative in vaccines. And I noticed an immediate reaction in my eyes. So how do you know that you're not going to have a reaction to that? We don't know which people are genetically predisposed to have a reaction to it, but he found a link to mercury. He had worked on that, and several people had said, he said autism taught him more about medicine than his entire time in medical school. They say several people left comments on his Facebook page. Dr. Bradstreet was my son's doctor. After my son was diagnosed with autism, he worked miracles. At 16, my son is now looking at a normal life thanks to him, and I thank him every day. Another one said, I will forever be grateful and thankful to Dr. Bradstreet for recovering my son from autism. They have set up a GoFundMe page to, they say, try to find answers to the many questions leading up to the death of Dr. Bradstreet, including an exhaustive investigation into the possibility of foul play. Now, here's what's also interesting about this. Not only is it questionable that he was trying to commit suicide with a shot in the chest instead of shooting himself in the head if he was trying to commit suicide, they say that the circumstances surrounding his death are made more curious by a recent multi-agency raid that was led by the FDA at his offices. They say the FDA has yet to reveal why agents searched the office of the doctor, reportedly a former pastor who has been controversial for well over a decade. So one person commented and said, self-inflicted in the chest, I'm not buying it. This was a doctor who had access to pharmaceuticals of all kinds. This was a religious man with a thriving medical practice. Sorry, but this stinks of murder and a cover-up. Very interesting story. And it's also interesting how this turned out. As Adon told me, he put this story up about a week after it happened, and it only at that point been covered by the local paper and one other publication, which was it was WHS, I believe, was the station that it was carried at, WHNS. After we put it up, it got picked up the next day by the Daily Mail, by Forbes, Time, NBC, ABC News, everyone picking up the story, but pushing back on him and pushing back on the idea of not only his career, but the idea of foul play. Very interesting. We can have an effect. It is something that We need to remember that we can push out there the information and we can get that exposed.